It's November 14th, 2019, and we have a very major tragedy on our hands today with the school system in the United States, in particular California, Santa Clarita, California. There was an unsociable student gunman who pulled a semi-automatic pistol out of his backpack. This is on his 16th birthday today, and unloads on 5 classmates in his California high school, killing 2 people. Well, eventually a third teenager also passed away in the hospital, and he did all this before attempting his own suicide. As it's revealed, it's potentially caused by the death of his alcoholic father, and that may have triggered his rampage. Surveillance captured the attacker pulling pistol from his backpack, firing at his 5 classmates, and then shooting himself with the final bullet later. The gunman, who was initially mistaken as a victim, is in the hospital in grave condition right now. We have no idea what's going to happen to him. The school was on lockdown, and witness descriptions and surveillance footage identified the suspect within an hour of the shooting. Officers went to his home, and his mother and girlfriend are assisting detectives with their investigation. Berhow's father, Mark Berhow, died of a heart attack in December of 2017. A childhood friend of Berhow's described him as being quiet and introverted. A friend claimed that Berhow's late father drank heavily and also made bullets, interestingly enough. Authorities said they responded to a torrent of 911 calls when the gunfire began at about 7:30 this morning. Surveillance video captured the attacker pulling the .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol from his backpack, firing at 5 classmates and then shooting himself in the head with a final bullet, although he did survive. Authorities earlier said that a search warrant was being obtained for the suspect's home to collect possible evidence. Neighbors claimed Berhow's father had a passion for guns, but it is not clear if the teenager had access to weapons. When the suspect's father passed away, supposedly the suspect found his father's body at his home when he died. The local authorities there in California are going through as many possible motives as they can find, reasons in which the suspect could have done this. So you have a 16-year-old male who on his birthday decides to go to school and start shooting people. This brings up a lot of questions about the United States. Why is this the trend in the United States? This was not the trend for the United States 20, 30 years ago. Well, it really started 20 years ago. And brings up a lot of other questions too. I mean, this isn't really news anymore. This is the normal. And we know there'll be another one either next week or next month. This is the current normal for the United States. So what will this mean? How will this affect this generation of teenagers as they become adults? The school that the shooter went to appears to be in a very nice neighborhood. Aren't schools in areas that pay higher taxes for their homes supposed to be safer? Isn't there supposed to be a higher standard that's going to be delivered? Or do people have to send their children to school not knowing if they're going to see them again, regardless of how much they pay in taxes? While the shooter appears to be half Asian and half white, why is it that white males are constantly doing this? Where are the black males who do this? Why aren't there females, especially white females, bringing guns to school, shooting up everyone? Why does the media constantly portray these school shootings of schools that are predominantly white as a delicate issue? At this school shooting today, there were military there and people heavily armed. It wasn't just the local law enforcement, it was the FBI. When will America start showing concern for black lives when there's a shooting of black people in this way? What does this media portrayal of predominantly white schools, predominantly white areas, and events train all Americans of all colors to believe? The first 2 school shootings after Columbine were called copycat events. They no longer call these copycats anymore. If teenage males of white families in middle-class neighborhoods keep getting these guns and killing people, that sets a precedent of what America expects of these teenage males and what America feels as though must be prepared for. Or has it? Is this just okay and accepted behavior? Is it just overlooked? And overlooked why? What if these were black males? I realize that this is not necessarily a race issue, but there's only one race doing this. This is a social problem. This is a national problem, and there's nothing being done on a national level to fix this problem. So it will continue, and it's going to get worse as it has been, and it's pretty normal, and people do not think it's going to happen to them or their children until it does happen. Now what do we do? If you look at the pictures at the scene, it was pretty typical. All the teenagers come running out of the school, and then they're on the lawn, they're on their cell phones, holding their face with one hand, on the cell phone with the other, and crying, and the parents showing up and hugging the children, and then officers directing the teenagers where they should go, where to a safe place to see counselors. It was a pretty typical scenario. This is an extreme tragedy in America right now. And tonight, there are 3 households who will never see their children again. While the shooter tried to take his life, he's lucky that the officers did not, because if the officers would have shot him, then it's very unlikely he would still be alive. If you found this useful, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.